students. This is a small step to make physics interesting by e-learning. The technology has made such a that now it is very easy to understand the physics. With this, we'll start a series of teaching of class 12th physics with first topic as electrostatic. In today, we'll discuss about the charge, their properties, and the electrostatic force between the two charges. To understand what each charge, let us start with. See, I have a balloon in my hand. When I drop it, it falls down. Because we know that it has certain mass, and that mass has a gravitational force. As a result, Earth pull this one in a downward directions. So all the masses, bodies experience a force called gravitational force. Now see, very interesting fact here. Here it is a balloon, and I am taking a thread here. See, the thread has no attraction or repulsions towards it. But let me rub this balloon with a rough surface. Now see what happened to this thread. See, it get attracted. You can see it. Now reason is why. You see clearly. It is get attracted, attached. So there is a force which was earlier not present, now it developed, and that force is called an electrostatic force. And this force is developed due to another basic nature of the matter, that is called a charge. Now let's see more little bit clear. Here is, I have another balloon. See, I am rubbing this one also. Now I take this balloon with it. See, the both balloons are being repelled. See, that is coming. But when I bring this balloon, this move away. Where the thread is attached, but the balloons are repelling each other. This indicates that a force has developed between them to repel each other. And this repulsive force is developed due to another concept that is called electrostatic force. And this electrostatic force is due to among the two charges. Now what is charge? If you go to the atom has proton, electron and a neutron. This proton, electron, neutron, it is found that a electron attract with each other by a gravitational force 5.5 into 10 to the power minus 67 Newton by gravitational force. The same two electrons repel each other by force 2.3 into 10 to the power minus 24 Newton. This repulsion is developed due to a force called electrostatic force due to the charge. Now what is charge? Charge is the inherent property of the matter due to which two same particles repel each other. For example, a proton attracts photon by a gravitational force. But a proton repel a proton by electrostatic force. Similarly, electron repel electron by electrostatic force. And the force which is responsible to repelling the two electrons are called as charge. Now charge are found to be present in proton, electron and neutron also. This is out of syllabus, but it is very vital for informations. Now latest technology has found that proton is made of a subatomic particles called quarks. Each of these elementary particles is made of quarks. Proton is made of 3 quarks. Electron is made of 3 quarks. And the neutron is also made of 3 quarks. But the charge of 3 quarks added to produce plus E, and in electron 3 quarks made minus E, and this becomes 0. But till now scientists don't know why 2 independent quarks are available in the nature. They are present in the presence of 3 quarks. This is just a informations. Now here we can say that it is neutral because a neutron do not repel a neutron, so it don't have charge. But a proton repel with proton, that's why it has charge. A electron repel with electron, that's why it is also charge. But a proton attract electrons. So it is found that there are 2 kinds of charges. One is positive, another is negative. The charge acquired by the proton is called as positive, and the charge acquired by the electron is called as negative. Any charge body being repelled by the electron will be called as a negative charge body. Any charge body which is repelled by the proton is called as positively charged body. Now, who is a charge body? For example, let us consider sodium atom. We know that in a nucleus 11 protons are present, and outside the electron nucleus 11 electrons are present. And charge of a proton, which is called also charge of an electron but opposite in nature, is 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb approximately. So in a sodium atom, 11 proton plus 11 electrons make it neutral or chargeless. But if a sodium give a 1 electrons to say chlorine, then sodium has now 11 proton but 10 electrons. So it is now a charged body of Na+. Similarly, chlorine, if it has now 17 electrons, protons plus 18 electrons, now it is Cl-. Now these 2 are charged bodies. So a body which was neutral become charged by giving the electrons. A neutral body become charged by accepting the electrons. When we rub a body with a balloon like this with a rough surface, it becomes charged because due to rubbing, some of the electron has been teared and moved to the other bodies. So loss of electron make one body positively charged and the gain of electron on another body become negative charge. This process is called a charging by frictions. So we can make the charging by different process. Now come to know what are the different process of charging. There are 3 processes of charging. Charging by friction, charging by conduction, and charging by induction. You have seen we have rubbed the balloon with this towel. Then a thread is attached to it. Because due to rubbing of this balloon with this towel, the balloon becomes charged. This process is called as charging by frictions. Now when this balloon come in contact with a thread, some of the charges from balloon move to the thread. As a result, after touching, they will repel each other. A very common example, if you take a plastic pan and rub with hair and attach with the paper, it attracts the bit of paper. This is the we demonstrate as a child. This process, because of friction, it has been charged, and due to the induction, the paper has been attracted toward this pan. This process of attracting a charged body of a neutral body from a distance is called as induction. And when this body come in contact with this body, some of the charge move to the other body. This process is called as conduction. So, by rubbing, we can make body charge, that is called by frictions. When we a charged body brought a near neutral body, it attracts. This process is called as charging by induction. As a result, if you touch another body here, the charges flow to the other bodies. Or if it is connected to earth, some of the charges, opposite kind of charges, flow from the earth. The body B become charged from a distance. This process of charging is called as charging by induction. If you remove this one, the B body becomes negative. But if you take a charged body and touch to another neutral body, some of the charges flow to it. This process is called as conduction. This is induction. In this way, there are three methods of a charging body. That in this way we can produce the charge body. Now let's come to discuss about what are the property of the charges. First property of the charge is additive in nature. Means if a body has certain charges, and if we add, the net charge will be the resultant addition. For example, sodium, which had 11 protons and 11 electrons, which is called a neutral body. But when one electron transferred to the chlorine, say chlorine now has 17 protons but in 18 electrons. As a result, net charge is minus E because of 1 electrons. So chlorine is now negative. After donating 1 electrons, sodium has 11 protons but 10 electrons. As a result, it has a plus 1 E, that is positive charge. So simple way we can say that when electron is transferred from one body to another body, the total charge of body is simple added. This is called as additive nature of the charge. And the second property of the charge is conservation of charge. Charge is conserved. What do you mean by conserved? You cannot create charge or you cannot destroy charge. we rob or when something transferred, for example, I am giving the same example, sodium, give 1 electrons to chlorine, the sodium become positive and the chlorine become negative. If you take a system of isolated system of sodium and chlorine, the transfer of electrons has made sodium as a positive and chlorine as a negative. But if the system is now, it was neutral, now this is also neutral. So there is although transfer of charge from sodium to chlorine, but the total charge of the system was 0, now also charge is equal to 0. This is called as conservation of charge. Similarly, when 2 electrons interact with 1 electrons, another is positron, interact with each other, this is produced 2 gamma particle. This is called a pair inhalation. Here the total charge of the system was 0. Here after this as gamma particle is neutral, also total charge is equal to 0. This process is called as conservation of charge.